Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. Today, we are 5 pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. So honored today to have the one and only Dr. Tate Cockrell coming all the way from Southeastern. Dr. Cockrell, how you doing today, sir?
Wonderful, wonderful, Joseph. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. The man responsible, making sure I finish my doctorate degree. Dad, how's it coming from the Music City, Nashville today?
Going great. Blue skies, fall weather. Dallas didn't lose. It's all good.
That's a good day. John's licking his wounds, and for Pastor Appreciation Month, his congregants are getting on him about the Tar Heels losing. John, how was that?
It was tragic. It was a tough team to overlook, but it happened, and hopefully we rebound well.
Oh, man. And then Paul's teams took a shellacking. I'm not even going to ask if he stayed up to watch the whole game last night. His Dolphins took a L. Did you finish the game, Paul?
I did. Unfortunately, I had to watch the whole thing.
Oh, man.
I don't normally stay up that late, but I had to watch it, and it was rough.
You only stay up late when they win, Paul. Just remember that. They're losing, cut it off.
They had a chance. They had a chance, and then
no, they didn't.
We'll talk about it.
Of course,
they
had a chance to tie it up. Of course, they did.
We'll talk about it in a minute. Okay, because pastors and people in ministry, we love ministry, leadership, and sports. So we're going to talk about our football takes on the front end, and then toward the back end of the episode, we'll talk about a little ministry. So, Dr. Cockrell, what stuck out to you, sir, this NFL weekend? Any thoughts? Any games? Anything caught your eye?
Well, my Dallas Cowboys didn't play, so at least we didn't lose. So that was, that was a good day. The Eagles looked incredible, and as a Dallas fan, that's just scary. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that Miami lost last night, to be honest with you. I really thought Miami was going to win, and so I was shocked at the win last night, at the loss last night, to be honest with you.
Oh man, I was too. That was just a bad sign. Especially, we were hoping, there was talks of if their offense was fluttering, and man, they put it all together last night. Jalen Hurts looked really good. John, what stuck out to you?
Man, I was keeping track of the Lions. Just historically coming, I was like, oh, they're starting to put some wins together, doing well, and it was not good. It was not the team I thought would come out. Ravens been up and down. I thought this would be a good prove game. Come in, contain, do well. I've always wanted the Lions to do well. I just felt like for that city, for that franchise, it would be a great benefit for them. We'll see if they'll bounce back this week.
John, I got a stat for you. The Ravens are 15-1 against NFC teams. So I think there might be a little Lamar effect there. You're not seeing him how fast he is other than on highlights, and then you get out there and you're like, whoa, it's a different animal. So he's definitely got the NFC's number. Dad, what stuck out to you yesterday? What'd you think about the Bills taking an L to the Patriots?
That's it right there. It's not Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Pennies, man. They showed out and didn't bring anything. 4-3 to the worst team in the league, the Patriots, who can't even score. Their quarterback stinks, and they fought all the way back. And next thing you know, you got a quarterback who, enough said with him. But he drives the length of the field in a minute and a half, and they win the game. They've got problems. I think that locker room is in trouble. That's what stood out to me. What's going on with the Buffalo Bills? 3 weeks ago, they were the team, and then yesterday they lose to the worst team in NFL.
A fall from grace sounds like Dallas after week 2, but another fall from grace. Everybody was talking about the Dolphins, that they're going to set the tone this year, and then anytime they play a winning team, a team that's physical, they get outworked. Paul, what was your takeaway from the game last night? Your Miami Dolphins.
Well, I'll tell you, I was really, like Dr. Cockrell said, I was really hoping that this game's going to go really well and it would just be a staple game for the rest of the season. Didn't turn out that way, but I tell you, we were exposed, if anything. And if anything, what we saw there was our coverage for Devontae Smith or even AJ Brown was horrible. I mean, that's what killed us. And ironically enough, it's the same thing that happened with them over at the Bills when Allen was just throwing all over the place and we couldn't cover. And when you get to that kind of a place in the game where you're trying your best and you can't, man, it's just rough to watch. And then physically, gosh, man, the Eagles just hammered the Dolphins. So it was really kind of sad to watch those two things unfold in the game. And then it just fell apart to a really, really, really good Eagles team.
Good thing for you is, Paul, you got some help coming back. Jalen's coming, and then I think Howard. So you got some help coming outside. I'm kind of puzzled toward the beginning of the year. I was feeling like Jordan Love was going to be the guy. He had the look, and then now he's starting to regress. What do anybody's thoughts on that, Dad? What do you think? You think he's got it or not?
The jury's still out, but it's not looking promising. I don't think he started that uptick, and then, he's starting to regress again. And whenever you start regressing like that, that's a problem. And the teams that he's losing to and not playing well are not very good.
But, in fairness, though, to Paul, can anybody this season, how many teams have somebody that can cover A.J. Brown? I mean, holy cow, dude!
I know, dude. He's playing at another level.
I mean, he's just having a season, man.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the same thing with Tyreek Hill. I mean, if you give him an open field, good luck trying to catch him. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, forget it.
And he had a touchdown that he dropped and could have had. I thought Tua played good. Hey, John, you've kind of hit on this a little bit last year. We're starting to hear murmurs about how offensive play is down. Any thoughts for that? Is it just defenses figuring out the scheme, or what do you think?
I really feel like, this is the need for the run game has to be leaned into. There's just not as much balance, and teams they're looking at 3rd and 4, 3rd and short, and they're playing the pass and just realizing the guy carrying the ball has only had 14 touches this whole game towards the end of the game, and I got a good shot to jam them up for lack of confidence coming in. And so I think the teams that will succeed will find a way to balance out the game a little bit more than it has been. Of course, you got, Chiefs and some of these teams that can throw the ball 60, 70% of the time and do well. It's just not feasible for every team. And so I think that's what you're starting to see. These other teams that don't do that as well, and they're trying to play that game, and it's not going very well for them. That's just my take on it.
What do you think, Cockrell?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. I mean, we're at a point in the season now where teams have had an opportunity to really dive into a lot of tape on teams, and so they're going to shut them down a little bit more than normal. But what you're going to see is the teams that are consistently good. Like, you look at the Chiefs. I mean, Kelsey will find the open spot on the field every single time, and you can't defend against that. I mean, it's when you got a quarterback as good as Mahomes and a tight end as good as Kelsey is. I mean, it's a go-to every single time. So that's when you're really going to see teams rise to the top, is when they've got that caliber of play. It's going to show every single time.
Yep, especially tight end play, which I think we'll talk about later, but I think Dak's missed that this year, having those two tight ends. All right, John, let's shift to college football. I'm going to let you go first, and Duke lost too. We'll pass it to Cockrell after that. But what happened to Carolina, man?
Man, we did not play defense at all. We let a very mediocre team run the football, just play after play after play, and didn't even try to stop it. And here's the thing. Historically, the last 4 or 5 years, UNC has been able to put points up on the board. They've always struggled on defense. This year, we've done better on defense, but there's still a lot of gaps there, and it didn't get covered. And the beauty is, so you kind of look around the rest of the ACC, and you're wondering what's going on here. And I just want to tip my hat to Florida State. It's been a while, but you know what? They're consistently winning games. I think moving in through the rest of the year, they got a very easy path. All they got to do is go into the swamp and beat Florida. Other than that, man, it's going to be a really sleeper schedule, that of like Georgia Bulldogs kind of schedule, kind of walking in. And so I really think they're going to pull it out for the ACC, maybe come in at 2 or 3, because, SEC is going to have to play one another and potentially take a loss when there's 1 or 2, 3 C guys.
Duke's been looking better this year. What happened this weekend to him?
Well, here's the thing. They looked great the first half. I mean, the first half, I thought, man, we're going to win this. We're playing the number 4 team in the country. We're going to end up pulling this thing out. And, third quarter was kind of a defensive stalemate. Duke made a couple of bad plays. And then in the fourth quarter, Duke's defense looked like a sieve, man. I mean, they couldn't stop anything. And I honestly, I can't explain it. I mean, I can't explain why the defense looked so bad in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was pitiful. And Duke could run the ball so good in the first half. I thought, man, if they just stick with that, they could just, if nothing else, just run the clock out, and keep a lead. And then fourth quarter came, man, and Florida State just blew up. I mean, they just blew up.
Yep. And we'll see how long they can Florida State can keep it moving. But, one of my favorite things about pastoring right here on the Florida-Tennessee line is to open the service at least once or twice a year. I'll just say, hey, guys, we're going to have a special opening today. We got some some tissue boxes up front. Any Tennessee Vol fans that are out, because, man, they bemoan it. They're like coming into church sick, hey, Joseph, I can't volunteer today. Hey, I mean, they're just all boo-hoo and talk about not showing up in the second half. They were riding high. They were posting on Facebook, and sure enough, big bad Alabama beat them again. I like their coach, and they're headed in the right direction, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Dad, Penn State. They really floundered. A lot of people thought that was going to be a good game. What stuck out to you?
They laid an egg. They didn't play anybody. So there was no proof in the pudding, and they just don't have an offense. They don't have a quarterback. One of the things that stood out for me is Lincoln Riley. He came in with all this hub.
Oh, yeah.
And he came in with his quarterback, and he's just going to move mountains and bring back USC to glory. Well, guess what? He's turning out to be, one of these guys who's got all offense and no defense once again. And so until they get a defense, they're going to and by the way, you take out this quarterback, and what are they? So I think Lincoln Riley better get things going real quick, or he's going to lose that shine that he has all around him.
Yep. No, I agree. I would ask Paul about his Miami Hurricanes pulling it out in overtime, but he had to go to bed early because he had to preach the next game. But Paul, they stuck it out.
Yeah, that's all I heard. I didn't get a chance to watch.
Best year his team's played, bro. And he just had to conk out.
Sorry,
it's all right. Hey,
Before you move on, did any of you watch, because the other team that I pull for is Ole Miss, because I'm a Mississippi guy. Did any of you watch the Ole Miss Auburn game? What'd you think about that game?
I didn't watch that one.
It was good. It was a good game. Auburn wasn't ranked, but man, Hugh Freeze
they play everybody tough.
Yeah,
that's
they kept it competitive. Even though they weren't. They weren't ranked. I mean, they only lost by a touchdown against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is ranked. So, I mean, it was a good game.
Oh, Hugh Freeze and Lane Kiffin. I mean, that's two offensive gurus. So, a lot of points, a lot of ball movement. Hey, we're going to move on to Preacher Picks. Now, this can be pro or college. Let's kind of bounce it around. Dr. Cockrell, I'm going to set you up here. Dallas comes back playing the Rams. I have a twofold question. How do you think they look coming back, and how do you currently feel as the state of the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, like all Dallas Cowboys fans, I'm a perpetual optimist, just setting myself up for failure, right? So, I mean, we all believe that Dallas is going to win, the championship. We're going to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl every single year until we're mathematically eliminated, right? So, but I do feel good. I do feel good about them. I mean, I think we got some guys coming back off of injury. I think the bye week couldn't have occurred at a better time because we had so many. I mean, the poor offensive line. Maybe they could be out of their wheelchairs by the time Sunday. This coming Sunday rolls around. So many of them have been hurt. But I'm picking Dallas. To win it because, of course, why wouldn't I?
Yep. I agree with that sentiment. Dad, your Bengals, who are starting to get healthier, coming up. Paul always makes fun of me. The Niners. They're playing the Niners. How do you think that one's going to shape out? That's an interesting game.
That's a get-right season game. We know that they won the last two games. Baltimore, they are looking really good right now. So they need to win this game. They need to show out. And it's not good enough anymore for the Bengals just to play the Bengals tough. Play the Niners tough. They need to go ahead and win this game and really set everybody on fire and let Baltimore know that they're coming. I think they can do it. It's going to be a tough one. If they play their best game, they have the tools. They have the quarterback. They have the swagger. They've got the calluses. They've been in these tough games, so I think they can do it. It's going to be a slobber knocker of a game.
Will Christian McCaffrey be back? Is he? He
will be back. That's next week.
Okay.
So I think he's going to be back tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
Paul, your Dolphins, this is a weird one because the Patriots are coming off a win. Dolphins are coming off a loss. It's a divisional rival game. How do you think that one will shake out?
Yeah, well, listen, here's the thing. The Eagles ran into the locker room saying, "Hey, don't doubt us," which, if anything, that should be encouragement to the Dolphins to say they took you serious. And so you have a really good Eagles team telling the Dolphins, "All right, we had to actually do our homework to play you guys." So for one, when it comes to the Patriots coming to Miami, I'm okay with that. I think they're going to be able to say, "Hey, there's some things we learned. We played a great team. Now we need to go ahead and not lose this game." I get it. It's tough to beat a team twice in the same season, but I really think they're going to be able to pull it off against the Patriots at home.
Y'all got to keep home field advantage because if y'all have a game out in the weather against a physical team in the playoffs, that could be rough. John, what are you watching?
Two things. One is this weekend we will see the Panthers get their first win against the Texans. I think it's going to happen.
Breaking news.
I think they're going to bottle up Stroud. I'm telling you right now, I think it's going to be the weekend, and it could not come any sooner. If you look at the numbers, though, not completely terrible team. An unfortunate skid for sure, but that's one thing. The other one is Jacksonville Jaguars have to be on the radar. 5-2 playing against the 4-2 Steelers that are not as good as their schedule. Pickens not very good and consistent, and so I think this is the opportunity. But if they win this one, go 6-2, they catch 49ers next week. Which would be a big tester game. You come out 8-2, and you just come off of beating those two teams. Then you have the Titans, the Texans, the Browns, and then the Ravens later. I think you're in a good spot. But by then, the Ravens, I think you're going to have a good setup team. So it could be the year we see them come over the hump, and why not? Why not?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. Stroud, man, him and the Houston, they have not been asleep. I mean, they've been competitive all year. So definitely something to watch. Well, fellas, let's shift to our ministry segment. Before we jump in, Dr. Cockrell, just a little info about him. He oversees the Doctor of Ministry program along with the EDD and a whole bunch of other things over there. But for me personally, had to rep my Southeastern gear today. So the first time I ever met Dr. Cockrell was on a Zoom meeting, and it was like, I think COVID was had just happened. And so he's the guy that you have to go through. And 5 minutes in, they're like, "Hey, you got to pick a faculty chair." I'm like, "Oh, I'm picking that guy." And so Dr. Cockrell, a little bit about you. You, I don't know, you've been around in a lot of circles and have so much knowledge. But the thing I think that struck me most was your wisdom and your integrity and your humility. And so thank you for being my faculty chair. You were super helpful and gave me the path to do it. And I really valued that. I think your in-class time was great, but I think the thing I enjoyed the most was off-the-record stuff. You let me pick your brain on ministry and questions, and so I really appreciate that. Super thankful for it. If you could, before we jump into our topic, could you tell us just a little bit about your current state of life, tell us about your wife and a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my wife, Wendy, and I, we've been married for 30 years. We celebrated 30 years in June. We have 3 kids. Our daughter, Tatum, is almost 29. Our twin boys are almost 21. We are empty nesters as of February of this year. So we are living our best life now, which is so wonderful. I don't understand at all people who say, "My kids left home and I was in the fetal position. I didn't know what to do with my life." I tell people now, and whenever Wendy and I lead conferences, I'm like, "Look, don't get me wrong. We love our kids, but now we love our kids over there, right? Like we're glad you're over there, right? So we enjoy hanging out with them and getting to see them. But man, being in the empty nest stage is pretty awesome. So we're really, really enjoying that. So
very cool, very cool. And you've been at Southeastern for how many years now?
I've been at Southeastern. This is almost 9 years. Here in the area, almost 9 years. I started teaching for them like 12 years ago, but the first 2 years, a little over 2 years, I was just flying in and teaching while I was the member care pastor at the Church at Brick Hill. So I did that for a couple of years before we actually made the full-time transition to come into North Carolina.
Very cool. So as I set up our question, just a disclosure about you, Dr. Cockrell, is that not only do you come from a ministry line, but you also come from a psychology and counseling. And so I used your background and your specialty. And just for the record, you are the guy in the SBC and in our region that people come to on things of mental health and pastors and ministry, as you do a lot of counseling. And so I want to say all that to set up the question, and we'll just kind of organically let this one flow, but we'll start with you. Here's the question. How would you describe the current spiritual and mental health state of pastors and people in ministry across the board? And then to follow that, how can we adjust to be more healthy?
Two really good questions. Yeah, I'd say on the mental and spiritual health side, I'd say we're kind of in a transitory period right now. COVID really did a number on people in ministry. I mean, we lost a boatload of men in the pastorate, especially. We just lost a boatload of guys. They burned out. I think Juan Sanchez was the first person I heard use the terminology decision fatigue. Whenever we were coming out of COVID, he used that term. A lot of guys are experiencing decision fatigue. And we certainly saw that in among our D-Min students. We've got a ton of D-Min students that are coming into our program right now. We also lost quite a few students who were, burned out, tired, decision fatigue. But I feel like we're kind of rounding the corner. I feel like that's kind of leveled off. I feel like a lot of guys have gotten some counseling. They've gotten some help. They've set some boundaries in their life to kind of help, protect their emotional, spiritual, sort of relational health. And so I feel like we're kind of turning the corner. We're not there yet, but I feel like we're kind of in this transitory phase. For me, in terms of changes that we can make as a convention, is if we could just have much more education for our pastors about what good boundary setting looks like and what good mental health looks like. I mean, I honestly, I had been in ministry for a lot of years before anybody had a conversation with me about what self-care looked like, and I didn't have that conversation until I really needed that conversation about self-care. So you remember, Joseph, in our program, we require you to take a class on that. Like you take a class in our program called The Minister as Person and Professional. Mm-hmm. And we drill down on that hard, like, man, we want you doing the long haul, the long game of ministry and not being a flash in the pan. And so I want all of our guys and would love people, all people in ministry to have what Christopher Ash calls in his book, Zeal Without Burnout.
That's right.
He says, I want you to have sustainable sacrifice, not sacrifice that burns you out and you end up giving up your ministry, but sacrifice that's sustainable over the long haul, so that guys ultimately, if I'm doing this whenever I'm 70 years old, I'm going to love that. I'm going to love the fact that I'm still getting to do ministry at 70. But at the pace that a lot of guys run, a lot of them, they're not going to make it. They're just not going to make it.
John, we'll go to you. And as we're passing around, y'all can share your thoughts or any questions you might have for him. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. Obviously, I moved into lead pastor role after COVID, and so I didn't get to walk through that, at least from my position that I'm currently in. But I think there's the expectation, always connected reality that we obviously swim in now. And then, there's no way that I can't get a hold of someone, right? Like there's no way that I can't call this guy and him answer or text this guy. And it's been 3 days since he responded back. Things that are illogical, really, for people to sustain over the long haul. I think a couple of things that I found helpful for my life, because I don't speak to a wider audience and kind of gain and poll them. One is the plurality of elders has been so fruitful and beneficial. Sharing the burden with other brothers, realizing if you're going to the hospital, I don't need to, and saying that and encouraging our congregation in that if any one of these brothers show up, it's just as good as if I showed up myself, which has to hand away. You can't be the Messiah. You got to hand some of that stuff away. The other is just the healthy burden of like taking the cell phone and stowing it away and being unreachable.
Yep.
For periods of time. And at least for me, there's an expectation that at 7 p.m., if you call me, I'm going to have to answer it. I have to call you back. I have to get to this. It's many things that are quote unquote urgent or not that urgent. And when I think one gauge that was really helpful for me that someone mentioned to me, and I'll share with you guys, is if I find myself starting emails with apologies, then I've created unrealistic expectations, right? Like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just now seeing this. It's been 6 hours, 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever. Instead of things like, hey, thanks for your patience as I was going through these things. And I will just say, if I could encourage other pastors, is create the expectation that an immediate turnaround on all things is just not going to happen. And if people get upset, people will get upset because they expect you to do all things. Then allow those people to get upset, but at least they'll look at it and go, man, this guy hadn't just hit all these things so fast and then just cut me off because he burned out and fell apart. From day one, I've just been like, I'm probably not going to get that back to you, and that's going to be okay. And we're just going to move ahead. Mm-hmm. And then they don't have that expectation anymore. If he's not going to respond next day or 2 days or whatever. And so I think if you could imagine maybe rolling back some clock time 50 or 60 years ago in ministry, realizing you had a landline at best and no email, then the turnaround time for a lot of things is pretty slow. And I think that's still appropriate.
Paul, thoughts?
I mean, I affirm all of that. I mean, those are all things that are things that I think we all need to guard and be reminded of, because if we don't do it ourselves, something else is always going to take precedence. Something else is always going to be a decision that we have to make. I mean, it could get very draining, and sadly, sometimes the people that suffer the most are the folks that we love the most at home, and that's the hardest part about it, And I've heard it. I've had the pain of having to hear my wife say, hey, you're really good at doing all these things and move a lot of scheduling to do this, when it comes to, either a speaking engagement or making sure you're having a meeting with this person to make sure they disciple that person or have an early. And that's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow to hear that right after she says, but how often do you do that here where you're that vehement with our family and with our kids' devotions and with our kids' discipleship, all that stuff. And that hits home in so many ways, because that's the one place that, we don't want to, as pastors, fail at, because that's our first ministry. That should be where our first fruits should go to, is at home. So yeah, guarding that and what you guys are saying are just healthy reminders all the time to be like, you gotta guard those moments, those times, with your family and what's important the most, and even your own personal relationship with the Lord. That's the other big one. But yeah,
Dad, one of the things, you being the elder statesman, that I've heard you just instructing.
Man, he just threw him right under the bus. Oh, Joe's old.
I had to. I mean,
he doesn't look like the elder statesman.
He's got more hair than me.
Looks like you might be the elder statesman.
Hey, he preached at our church a few weeks ago, and they thought he's my brother. I'm like, give me a break. But anyway, Dad, one of the things, kind of going off what Paul talked to you about, is I think sometimes we are the cause of our own burnout or our fatigue, and you talk about, you want to break down how ministry can come in the form of idolatry and that whole thing.
Well, one thing I think is it's important to know who you are. And what I mean by that is, so many times we'll read a book or we'll see a pastor that we idolize, or we create an image of who we want to be, and then we try to create ourselves in that image. We see that even with people or preaching styles, and they try to have a look of a church, a look of a style, and even a work ethic. And I think it's important to know who you are, and then allow yourself and give yourself permission to give yourself what you need. For instance, when I first came to our church, I just tried to work. And then if I didn't have anything going on, I created something to do. And once I realized, I said, that's not actually healthy. There's for the long haul, as we've been talking about, nowadays, if I've got nothing going on in the afternoon, I leave it be. And I don't go create something to do so that I feel good about myself as a pastor, using every minute that I can. And so I think some people have different makeups. And so I've really searched, who am I? What do I need? When I do start to feel a little stressed, we all do. Sometimes we have so much on our plate. So if I've got a lot going on for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then, once things settle down, I allow them to settle down and I take a deep breath. And if I want to go, sometimes if Pam can get off, or we'll go to a movie, or we'll just go to the mall, give yourself permission to go to a mall and just relax. And so I think as pastors, we fight that tendency because we think that we're not being good pastors. We got to go do something. And we miss opportunities to fill up, spend some time with our family, and then go at it another day, because there will be days that it's full and this one's in the hospital and this one dies and you got this activity. And so when those opportunities show itself, take it.
Yeah, I don't think there's such a thing in ministry. You hear people say you need to live a life of balance. I don't think that exists for people in ministry. Balance doesn't exist. What you have to learn is you have to learn rhythms. You have to learn, man, there's going to be seasons. I mean, Joseph, you know this about my schedule because you kind of watched this firsthand, as a student that I was supervising. I mean, I lead an incredibly hectic, fast-paced, busy life. And then I'm going to take a lot of time off, right? Like I'm going to give a lot and I'm going to be really, really involved. And then, Wendy and I were in Gatlinburg, a week ago for 4 days, Right. And so to me, it's about rhythms. It's about knowing, okay, I'm going to have these really busy seasons, but then I'm going to take time to rest. What happens to a lot of guys in ministry is they have the really busy season and they're always saying, well, as soon as this is over, I'm going to take a break, but they never take the break and they just roll from one busy thing into the next without doing, Joe, what you said, which is give themselves permission to say, you know what, I had a week where I worked 60 hours, 70 hours last week. I'm only going to work 30 this week. I'm going to give myself permission to be able to do that. And suddenly what was supposed to be a season has now become a way of life. And it's every single day, every single week. And that's unhealthy.
Yep.
Dr. Cockrell, one last question before we wrap up. When we're all friends of expositional preaching, we talk about it a lot. And within that, there's application. But just, I think coming out of COVID, all pastors have had a heightened awareness of within that application, looking for opportunities to talk about mental health or you're hearing a lot of that. Any tips or thoughts on how preachers can still be faithful to the text, but look for opportunities, or how to shepherd your congregation? We're not counselors, but any thoughts on that?
Well, it's a great question, Joseph. I mean, here's the reality. We're embodied souls, right? And so every text of scripture that you read is going to have some aspect, because we are physical beings, and our emotions, our mental state, our psychology, all that is wrapped up in that. And so if pastors, as they're going through the text, if they'll just think about the whole person and not just the behavior of that person, every behavior that we have, here's your psychology moment, for the day, right? We do what we do because we feel the way we feel. We feel the way we feel because we think the way we think. We think the way we think because we believe the way we believe. And so if we want behavior to change when we're preaching and we're doing application, if pastors can just learn how to think about what does a person have to believe, think, and feel in order to be able to do that, there's your opportunity to talk about mental health right there. I mean, just envisioning the embodied soul that we are always body, mind, soul, spirit. If pastors can just remember that, then the application should take care of itself.
Very good. Well, hey, we appreciate that. Hopefully Dak Prescott's working on his mental health on his bye week so we can come back in. Dr. Cockrell, I'm glad we finally got to do it, and we'll definitely do it again.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for the invite.